whom it may concern, among others, Galileo's telescope greatly impacted the historical progression into a relatively technological future, by predominant standards this day, breaking so many mythically grounded paradigms of that age into scientific epistemologies previously unthought of at the roots of collective consciousness, then and otherwise now. A freshly radical development then founded of a clear majority of our current potential, which culture then solidified into holistic and scientific cultural forces. No one could have otherwise stabilized greater pathways to increase progress via pathways which mankind would otherwise not possess now as common roots. Nobody now did not exist as the center of the universe on Earth, other than the remnants of God within our cultural stagnation as a species prior to the Renaissance. Above this now ancillary planetary body, now subservient to a universal satellite known as pure light within an astronomical scale, the sun. God, the glorious supreme being, otherwise unknown without real belief, did now not create a universe which favors mankind. Galileo's telescope deflected us from the center of everything so that we could serve for the first time grand planetary bodies to the literate masses, now in popular consumption of image on readily available media resources. Nothing within our historical space race would virtually occupy a standardized capacity to this day were it not for Galileo's telescope transmitted via this written language at the apex of European culture, at least not the same. Minds of the Renaissance were repeatedly surpassing technical limitations of a previously otherwise oral attempt at technological transmission beyond God's worldly authority of the church and its armed forces. Nobody would otherwise be entitled to this historical progress without all that has been condensed on paper, especially lost to entropy. Imagining for reality that Galileo's telescope has not been developed, yet it impacted radically a historical trajectory by unlocking a metaphorical Pandora's box. The church attempted to stop Galileo's telescope by any means necessary, because it so threatened their assertions as emissary of an otherwise unknown and invisible power over others. The censorship would have meant the death of Galileo's cultural revision regarding historical faults and tradition, the ongoing religious wars included, if not for failures in the mechanisms of church censorship. Yet this development was the practical precursor of secular enlightenment, and shedding, even if partially more so, the exotic apparati of control the church reinforced for their Dark Age power and preserving ignorant human piety. Galileo's telescope, on the other hand, we are fortunate for it to have survived despite such ossified and rigidly dogmatic limitations. The church matters seemed concerned with the salvation of mankind as a cause for worldly reification of holy power, whereas Galileo's telescope materially condensed faraway and magical heavenly images into the eye of scientific progress. The Renaissance master without the church was one who could see first clearly these heavenly realities, albeit with less presumptions of phantasmagoric myth. The truths of the universe once reviewed and transcribed, they would then disseminate to the literate, to those who preserve and advance science via their popular understanding. An understanding of these astronomical formations as it manifests then and now. This all during the Renaissance, we are fortunate occurred even despite apparent cultural hang-ups, as any radical new viewpoint necessarily would reflect and has demonstrated the prior basis of the societal organizations and circumstances in its developmental changes. Censorship by the church, though, only served Galileo's telescope in their ironic reinforcement of the growing implementation tools like the one being studied. So we must recognize their value and any innovative scientific spectatorship of inventions and experiments as appreciated by the standardized written word. Nobody shouldn't go up against such dead and fallacious paradigms which belong in the trash even to this day, except to bear in mind that mankind will progress and improve so long as he is capable of it. We will and should continue in this light as a species to innovate and create as best we can, rather having to reinvent the wheel again and again, always bearing in mind that this level of communication and its extrapolation is only possible with our written words as the historical basis. Thank you, cordially.